Hi there, Doug from BrainGrid. When you're writing code with Windsurf, you have an agent over here, the cursor agent, and you can start talking with it and chatting with it, and it will develop code for you, and it will update your code. Well, Windsurf is agent first, so as you write, it starts updating the code as it's going along. Now, when Windsurf's agents are running, it has the context of all of the files in your repository. Like there's a lot going on, and it knows all of that context. But sometimes when you're writing code, there's greater context. For example, you may be accessing files, data in a database, or you might be making API calls. And sometimes when you develop with agents and it knows it needs to make an API call, it doesn't know the exact path of the API. It doesn't know what parameters to add, and then it doesn't really know what the results look like. It ends up being boilerplate code that you then have to modify every single time it generates it. So it makes it makes a SQL query, and then you've got to go through and say, well, it's actually this table, and these are the columns I want, and here are the results that I need. And that's frustrating. It's context switching, and it slows down development. One of the great features in AI development over the last couple months is the Model Context Protocol. MCP servers connect your code base and the agents to other tools that are outside of the code base. So for example, you can connect to your database, or you can connect to the Swagger of your API, or you can connect to GitHub and get issues so that you can fix the issues. You can get into Figma and you can look at the design specs so that when it's writing the HTML, it matches the design that it needs to match. These are external plugins that you add into Windsurf. And the way you add them into Windsurf is you come up here to Windsurf, you click Settings, Windsurf Settings, and then you can see here I search for MCP, and it says, here's where you browse and install MCP servers. You open up the MCP marketplace. So we'll open that up, and you can see I have two installed. I have a Postgres one that has an error, and we'll see why there's an error, and we've got BrainGrid installed. I'm going to open up BrainGrid first because I've got that one installed correctly. You can see that BrainGrid has 18 tools. Get the project, get the profile, get the requirements. BrainGrid is spec-driven development. You work inside BrainGrid. Inside BrainGrid, you can talk with an agent, and that agent works as a product manager, fleshing out the requirements of what you're trying to build and creating a specification. It asks you questions on what you're trying to build and maybe even gives you suggestions on how you could build it differently. It gives you these requirements so you can look and see, this is exactly what I want to build. You can also work with the agent to change these requirements and update it. Once you're happy with the requirements, you can ask BrainGrid to create tasks. And each one of these tasks break down everything that needs to be done, and it's a very detailed prompt of what the agent will do as it's building your code. So by adding this MCP agent into Windsurf, you can access these tasks, these requirements, and work with the Windsurf cursor agents to build these features into your application. So we can see here that there are 18 tools from BrainGrid. Get the projects, get the requirements, and you can turn these on and off. Windsurf has a limit of 100 tools total. So if you have a bunch of these MCP servers, clearly you might hit your limit, and some of these maybe you won't use, and you can mix and match to make sure that you have the ones that you need while you're developing. There are a lot of MCPs that are just click and install. We can scroll down here and we can see, there's SQLite. So if you're making SQLite queries, you can interact with that database. So we click this, and we can say, I'd like to install the SQLite server, and it just asks for the path to your SQLite database. If it's local, you can then say, here it is. And then while you're talking with the cursor agent, it can actually look into the SQLite, into your SQL database and understand what columns, what tables are there so it can make the correct queries. We've got Sneak, and so Sneak is a security, so it can actually do security scanning and vulnerability detection. We've got Pinecone databases. We've got Postman for dealing with API calls. You can connect to GitHub, whereas GitHub can look at pull requests. It can look at issues and understand what the issue is so that as it's writing the code, it can make sure that it's solving that issue. If the MCP you're looking for isn't present in the MCP marketplace, you can add it manually. And you can do that by clicking the wheel here. And this opens up, you can see this file here, it's the MCP config.json. And that's hidden inside my computer under Codium, Windsurf, this JSON file. And you can see that I have two installed. I have the BrainGrid MCP, and this is showing Windsurf how to install it. So it's an npx command. It uses the MCP remote, and it downloads the MCP from BrainGrid. For Postgres, you can see this fires up Docker, and then it tries to make a connection to this table with admin. Admin is the login and password, and clearly example.com doesn't have a MySecret Postgres database, and that's why it was failing. So you can edit this here. So for example, if BrainGrid had one, I could change the domain. This still won't work because there is no database there, no Postgres database there. But if there is no MCP, you can add it manually just by adding the JSON here. By having the MCP for BrainGrid installed, when I talk with the cursor agents, I can say, hey, I want to fix the dark mode display, and I have project requirements inside BrainGrid, and the MCP knows that it can connect to BrainGrid and pull out all of the tasks, review those tasks, and then I can work with the agent to complete the tasks, to complete the feature that I'm looking for. AI agents are revolutionizing the way people are coding. It's speeding up productivity. It's helping developers move faster. It's helping people who don't have a large coding background actually build full-fledged SaaS applications. But these agents only have access to the code that's inside the GitHub repo. By adding these MCP servers, you give the agents that additional context of the databases, the APIs, the design specs, everything that's on these external third-party sites. Now the agents can look at those, understand them, and provide feedback. So if it's looking at Figma, it can match your design specs. If it's making a database call to your Postgres database, it will find the right table, it will ask for the right columns, and it will filter them properly. And then you don't have to worry about fixing that boilerplate code as a developer, slowing you down, adding context switching. So MCP servers are an amazing tool for developers that are using AI agents for their coding. We think BrainGrid is a great one for you to add when you are building your code, because it really gives you that spec-driven development that a lot of prompting engineering doesn't give you. So thanks for watching, and give these all a shot.